When we talk about the greatest to ever play the game, we're not just talking about stats or championships. We're stepping into a totally different realm: basketball immortality. This is a place reserved for the players who didn't just play the game, they became the game. So, what's the secret sauce? How does a player go from being a superstar to an absolute legend? Is it the rings? Is it the record books? Or is it something more? Well, as we're about to find out, the path to immortality isn't a straight line. For some, it's about becoming a cultural touchstone. These players were way more than just athletes. They were icons who defined entire decades, and their influence went way, way beyond the basketball court. And then you've got the revolutionaries, the ones who looked at how basketball was being played and just said, nope, we're gonna do this differently. They didn't just master the game, they fundamentally changed it for everyone who came after. And finally, there are the global ambassadors, the players who took the NBA and turned it into a worldwide phenomenon, inspiring kids from Chicago all the way to Shanghai. Okay, let's start with the players who literally built the game as we know it. First up, the Mount Rushmore icons. We're starting with the faces of the league. I mean, these are the guys who carried the NBA on their backs and whose sheer star power built the global powerhouse we watch today. 6. Just think about that number. 6 trips to the NBA Finals, 6 championships, 6 Finals MVP awards. You can't even begin to have a debate about basketball's Mount Rushmore without starting with Michael Jordan. Man, that quote just says it all, doesn't it? Jordan's competitive fire, it wasn't just legendary, it was everything. He didn't just want to win, he had to absolutely dominate you. And that obsession, combined with his skill, is what took basketball global in the 90s. He created the very blueprint for what greatness looks like. From being called the chosen one on a magazine cover as a teenager to becoming the NBA's all-time leading scorer, LeBron James has somehow surpassed every single impossible expectation put on him. His career is just one long highlight reel. But that 2016 performance, bringing Cleveland back from a 3-1 deficit in the finals against a 73-win team, that's what sealed his spot among the immortals. If Jordan was the standard, Kobe Bryant was the guy who dedicated his entire life to surpassing that standard. He lived and breathed the Mamba mentality, that obsessive, relentless drive for perfection that powered his every single move. And honestly, nothing shows that better than his 81-point game. Just a ridiculous display of skill and pure will. You gotta remember, before Jordan, the NBA was kind of struggling to get eyeballs. Then along came Magic and Bird. And as you can see here, they were perfect opposites. The flashy, charismatic leader of the Showtime Lakers versus the quiet, deadly shooter from blue-collar Boston. Their rivalry didn't just define the 1980s. You could argue it saved the entire league and made it must-see TV. Okay, next up, the unstoppable forces. And I mean that literally. These players weren't just great, they were physical anomalies. They were so dominant, so powerful, that sometimes the league had to actually change the rules just to deal with them. For 20 seasons, opposing centers knew this shot was coming. And for 20 seasons, they were totally powerless to stop it. The skyhook was the signature weapon of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, a shot so automatic it carried him to 6 MVP awards and, until LeBron came along, made him the NBA's all-time leading scorer. 100 points in a single game. It just doesn't sound real, does it? It feels like a myth, a number that perfectly sums up the video game-like dominance of Wilt Chamberlain. He was an absolute force of nature who completely redefined what was physically possible on a court. But see, dominance can look very different. For Bill Russell, it wasn't about scoring. It was about winning, pure and simple. His game-changing defense and leadership built the craziest dynasty in American sports, 11 championships. Then, decades later, you get Shaquille O'Neal, who defined dominance in a much louder way. He was so big and powerful, he didn't just beat defenses. He shattered backboards and literally pulled down the entire hoop. All right, now let's talk about the innovators. These guys aren't just great players, they're visionaries who brought new skills and new styles that fundamentally altered the DNA of basketball. Now, this is really interesting. Just look at this chart. What you're seeing is a massive shift in how basketball is played, and the epicenter of that earthquake was Stephen Curry. He turned a three-point shot into a weapon like no one had ever imagined, forcing defenses to guard guys 30 feet from the hoop and literally changing the geometry of the entire court. And then you have the unicorns, players who are just impossible to guard. You had Dirk Nowitzki, a 7-footer with that unblockable one-legged fadeaway. You had Kevin Durant, who has the height of a center but the skills of an elite shooting guard. And of course, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. His dream shake was less of a basketball move and more like watching ballet in the post. Just beautiful. So, as we wrap things up here, what's the common thread? What makes a legend? The truth is, there really isn't just one answer. Becoming an immortal isn't just about your skill or how many rings you have. It's about those intangible things that capture our imagination and define a whole era. See, the path to immortality is unique for every single player. It can be found in Allen Iverson's rebellious style and that killer crossover. It's in the raw, primal intensity of Kevin Garnett screaming anything is possible. It's in Charles Barkley's dominant game and his massive personality, which made him a legend even without a championship. And then, it's in the quiet, fundamental greatness of Tim Duncan, the silent engine behind a 20-year dynasty. So there you have it. These are the players who built the league that we love today. They set the standard, they broke the mold, and they became legends. Which leaves us with one final question, and this one's for you. Who's next? Looking at the league right now, who do you think is on the path to becoming an immortal?